This is vibe check with Zach and Kris.
Indeed, this is vibe check. I'm Zach.
I'm Kris.
And we've got a special 7th episode for you.
A late night edition.
It's after dark. I can't.
Don't do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
Anyone who knows will know.
Yeah. Right. So we're doing this after dark because vibes are just so at this point.
We've had a full day to ourselves. And I think it's time to wreck ourselves.
Right. We're gonna wreck on video. Like, I actually pointing to a webcam that I see on my computer over here is in fact recorded. We're on Instagram Live right now.
Fancy.
So if you're watching, please let us know, or don't. It's fine. We're just here for you. I know if you've been watching this far, you've seen that we've already run into difficulties.
We've attempted to record before, and this is attempt.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
We've got a good feeling about this one.
It's a good show. We're gonna, first of all, this is episode 7, which is a special number. It's a special feeling. We're gonna dive head into Transcendence.
And what is trans as you put it, good sir?
I would put it as the point which realize that reality, and you exist in such a reality. Or hold on, let me try this again. You move past this world into the next world, and realize just how much bigger the next world is from this one, and how much it affects this world, and how much different your perspective becomes because of that.
For sure.
That's what I would say. What would you add anything to that?
You also become aware of how much the outside world affects this world. And it's weird to say outside or inside because, I'm sort of saying outside world when it's really the inside world, because it dive into yourself, into your imagination land.
Yeah.
In order to reach this world, and yet it's sort of the outside influence because it's more like, we're just a boat and it's the ocean, so that's why it's outside of us. It's not like we're in the middle of it. It's surrounding us. There's more of it than there's of this reality.
It's pretty Tao that we're talking about here. The yin and the yang. Well, no, it's not. No, it's not at all that. Anyway. But I want to contextualize what you're saying because this is very important. We were talking about before that there's an inner journey that we're supposed to go on to reach inner peace, bring what gives us this peace into the world using our imagination, using our dedication, using our dedication to expressing who we are.
Yeah.
And that it's really important to do that in a chaotic world where that tendency is suppressed for different kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
And that's so we've been describing this as an inner world. But that's not really what it is.
Yeah.
It's an inner world because that's what it takes to get there.
Exactly.
But that world once you're there, you realize encompasses everything in and outside of you.
Yeah.
The gateway is inside. The world is entirely encompassing.
That's where things get nice convoluted and people get lost.
Yeah, but let's just keep it simple. We're the way ocean.
Mm-hmm.
We're drowning in.
Exactly.
Of the spirit world. The spiritual world is a hobby. We don't look at this as, like, I don't know how to put this. We don't look at this as something that is fun to dabble with on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it isn't fun to dabble with standing the bigger picture of all things. It's just that we live in this big picture that spirituality is present in. It is that. And then we're trying to decode what that means, how to get there, and how to benefit from it. This is our world. This is everything. And now, this is really hard to describe. we've described already that there's deep peace of the soul, and we can reach that.
Yeah.
But now we have to describe the process in walking through that doorway and what happens when you get there.
So I was thinking about this while you were talking. So I have to bring. It's like you don't realize you're drowning in the ocean until you realize that the spirit, that like spirituality, is this ocean. And then so when the door first opens up, you're just encompassed with water. You know what I mean? Like, of course, this is symbolic, but stay with it.
Yeah.
If you were the doorway to giant spiritual ocean, the first step is opening that. And what usually leads to that is going through, you know, the dark night of the soul, going through that really tough place that's forced upon you by the reality that you exist in.
You realize you have nowhere else to go inside.
Yeah, when you get to a point where you feel so lost and alone that you seek something outside of yourself, but inside of yourself. And that's the first click that opens that door. At first you might even go through a spiritual psychosis, because all of a sudden you're processing new available energies that you weren't accessing before.
Just whole new realities.
Because you just weren't psychologically open to that, and all of a sudden you access that gate. Might just open and overwhelm you at first, but that's why it's a good way to put it as, like, you know, drowning in the ocean. Once you realize that it's where you just have to learn how to swim.
Yeah, but it's really important to. But why is it important to, like, realize what is the positive alternative about knowing truth is better than, like, just knowing and being okay with the red pill and the blue pill, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what's positive about the being red pill? And I'm not trying to use it in the political sense.
No.
In the original tricks, they're talking about this very phenomenon.
Yeah.
So
the concept of knowing the truth, even if it's a more intense and more of a struggle, is it worth more than being the illusion and having this illusionary peace, even though you haven't found the real peace and you haven't really explored that because you'd rather live in a bubble. The importance is all of a sudden you become able, you access knowledge that is inaccessible otherwise. And if you want to be one of those humans that develops and becomes more capable and wants to change things here on a bigger scale, then you have to be able to learn bigger things. And once you open yourself to the spiritual knowledge, it carries over into other knowledge on this planet. Just in general, you can tie it into business and every other aspect of your life. Once you access that spiritual plane, it really does tie into every other aspect, and you might not have known that until you open that door.
And, you know, it's interesting that you're saying that, because it seems as though, you know, what we were kind of selling at the first point is, like, the path to peace, the chaos of this world. But what it's, this peace, when you're really deep into it, is not peace of complete tranquility or calm, even though it actually does come from this world, from this state of being. But what's really valuable is the purpose, that knowing this wider knowledge and knowing that you can affect the world being a way that you ever thought possible, like, being able to know that you make the difference is, I mean, I think the psychologist Viktor Frankl said happiness is more about joy or pleasure.
Yeah.
It's all purpose. He survived the Holocaust and went through unspeakable torture, and he was able to deduce that the highest form of happiness and stability is the purpose that you can find.
Yeah.
And so that's a really interesting and good point about it is worth being brave.
Yeah.
Because you have to be brave to not only walk through this dark night and realize I've got to turn to myself.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you open the door and realize you're in an ocean, that's a lot of bravery too, because that's a new reality.
Yeah, because it's like at first, you have some water flow through. You can just shut that door real quick and be like, okay, never mind. That was too much. I'm not going there. But to really be brave, you let that spiritual ocean open up and sort of take over, and that's just being that symbol of opening that door is really just being true to yourself, to the most vulnerable extent. But of course, we've talked about vulnerability and it can be used, be taken advantage of. So a lot of people are afraid to just be that vulnerable. But this is a place where you can safely be vulnerable. Yourself is the only person that you can truly be safe being vulnerable with.
Yeah.
So that's like, it's those special gifts that you get. It's once you start to have the conversations with yourself and start having that dialogue with yourself, then you realize, like, this whole conscious existence is not in it alone if I can have dialogue with myself. And that's like a deep access to something that is important to get to that next level of being a capable being.
When you're entirely vulnerable to yourself and willing to say, my physicality and power I have is nothing, I'm just me. That's the ironic thing. It's a world of paradox. A small door reaches you into a massive ocean. Complete surrender brings you to all power. Because what happens is when you bare your soul, you realize your soul is connected to the divine.
Yeah.
The entirety of everything. You realize you're part of that. But you can only get there when you throw off these smaller things. There's actually a parable about this in Jewish tradition that I think illustrates this idea. There was a Rabbi Akiva, who was being taught. He was studying Torah, which was against the law of the Roman authorities who were persecuting Jews at that time, just like they were persecuting all kinds of people, including Christ. And Rabbi Akiva just wouldn't stop teaching Torah. He wouldn't stop teaching people, truth. And people asked, why can't you stop? Like, if you stopped, you wouldn't get arrested, you wouldn't get tortured, you wouldn't die.
Yeah.
And so he says, there's a story that I can tell you about that will make you understand. So imagine there are fish in a river, and there are dangerous predators in that river. And there's a wolf on the side of that river that says to the fish, hey, get out of the river and escape the peril. It'll be safe up here from that. And we can't live without this water, no matter what. This water is Torah, which means this water is spirituality. If Rabbi Akiva is saying, I will take tortures, the difficulties of this physical world, because I'll actually really be dead, disconnect myself from what's ultimately true, from what I live with after my death, from what I am empowered with in all of my life. Everything is small in comparison to that. And that's why he says a wolf can't convince a fish to get out of a river, even to escape a predator, because that's just, you can't once you realize you can't really live without this way of being.
Yeah.
Even if there's perils in that world, it's nothing compared to the perils of not being with it.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Yeah, that's a good one.
So I don't know. I guess that's all. This is all comes to the means of warning, of contextualizing and, in a way, selling
Yeah.
what we're trying to advocate for. What I'm trying to go in... Oh, boy.
Oh, little technical difficulty. Shall we pause this? Vibe check with Zach and Kris.
Yeah.
This is Vibe Check with Zach and Kris.
Well, we are back after another failed experiment with video. You know, I thought this was meant to be. It was almost meant to be. It almost worked.
I think this is just the universe telling us, why don't you just invest in a professional camera, you fools?
Oh, I mean, you know, the reason why it's a usable video, but it was on a program that I had only downloaded a demo version of, and demo versions shut down or do erratic things to get you to buy it. So that's exactly what the universe is saying on that front.
It's like, oh, you wanted to record project with this? Oh, no.
You can't do that. I was experimenting with virtual audio cables before, and like, when you, as a trial version, after an hour it starts beeping, saying try, like when you're trying to record something, it's like, oh yeah, they're clever, cleverly annoying.
They're like, oh, we probably should pay for the thing that we're using, but why'd they even have to give us a taste?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's. I guess it's good salesmanship.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to real salesman. No, it's not real sales.
Hey, let's use that as symbology. Symbology.
Yeah. That's right.
It's correct. I'm just tired.
That's cool. That's cool. It's late at night.
You can. It's late night. It's kind of like faith. You kind of can't. You can't just have half of it. You got to be full faith into that. You just got to take it.
You gotta take it.
Take it all.
Yeah.
You gotta pay for the whole thing.
You gotta pay for the whole thing. Learn something new. I mean, it's not really new. It's an old lesson that comes back over and over again.
It's spirit is not something that you can just have a trial version of.
No, because it's
you
gonna
gotta dive right in, or you're just gonna have a
thing going trial when you're trying to.
You're gonna have more trials than you need.
Okay, so let's get to the matter where we actually left before I started out about. Well, really important as we were talking about to reach this deeper ocean where all this true spiritual reality is. But we're not really doing you a service by just telling you that it's there. I want to sort of describe a step-by-step breakdown how I personally and perhaps you reach a state where are very clear aware that this reality is a small one compared to the other reality, where everything clicks. Because, you know, we were talking earlier about believing in God, and, you know, I was sort of saying, it kind of upsets me when people, I mean, it shouldn't, but, like, you know, the fighter of God is within.
Well, it's how people are with science, where it's like, you don't believe in this, scientifically proven. It's like, people like us would be like, well, yeah, God, dude, like, what are you? It's like trying to tell me that water doesn't exist. It's right there. There's water right in front of you.
Yeah, just what we were talking
You're
about.
You're made of water.
Just poke your blood. See what's coming out? That's blood. That's also water.
It's water. It's like, you know, God, it's right there. It's in front of you. It's here. Come on.
It's so it seems obvious, and you know, I think that's what's so upsetting, because it seems obvious at a certain point. But the truth of the matter is that when people tell someone to believe in God, I believe that's incredibly useless and counterproductive.
Yes.
Because what that's saying is you're like it's kind of like trying to catch a dolphin with like a butterfly net. like good luck trying to believe in God with your mind.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
You can't do
trying
that.
to convince somebody that God exists, because you can't convince somebody else that God exists.
You can't even convince yourself that God exists.
Yeah, that's not how it works. It's something that comes from the moment that interaction, but it takes the need to have that experience. Like, you have to want to have that conversation with God. You have to want to access the deeper aspects of reality, and the only way to get that is
You have to pose the question.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is useful to talk about God, to say, to try and use our intellects, which we're sort of trying to do through this podcast, to get to this place of God. But these are really signposts. It's not the actual path. The actual path, as we've talked about before, is your experiences. You have to experience something to know it's real, especially if it's a layer of reality that's not so obvious at all. Like, I don't know. I suppose, like, you could intellectually believe that Kazakhstan exists. Mm-hmm. You've seen it in movies. Mm-hmm. You know it's there. Mm-hmm. But, like, you're not really going to understand that it's there until you're really there. Mm-hmm. Because when you're really there, it's not another thought that can be dismissed, just like the moon is made of cheese, for example. Like, that's a thought. Like, Kazakhstan is a country thought. Mm-hmm. They can be accepted, they can be dismissed, but they're as thin as paper until you really sort of delve into it deeply enough. Yeah. Some things you're never really going to get to experience. Yeah. Like, not going to really experience the moon's cheese or not, but you'd be able to go to a science museum and find some sort of piece of the moon the astronauts brought back, and say, okay, that's what it's really like. Or when a meteor falls down, people collect meteors because they know everyone knows what a meteor is. Yeah. But when you're holding it in your hand, that's a deeper level of knowledge about some very basic that you learn at school. And if you Kazakhstan, I don't know why I was thinking of Borat. I just couldn't help it. I know. But this is also true for. I mean, I don't want to really. I really don't want to make this transition. This is also true for God. This is also true for God that you can't go to a place of full acceptance of a fact or a truth until you have this experience, and this experience is drowning in this ocean. So let's walk through let's walk through a deliberate method in going into this ocean. So first of all, we talked about the process of being challenged to want to go into that ocean. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like, okay, you're going through a lot in life, and suddenly you realize there's no place to turn, but inside you sort of give up and get on your knees. There's actually another story from the Talmud. It's about a farting prostitute. And it's in the Talmud, so I feel very justified in talking about it. But basically, this guy who wandered on the world committing all kinds of sins and he met a prostitute, and while they were having sex, she farted, and I know it's better. And he was like, wow, like, just you passed wind, so I also am temporal, and all of my and I have all these sins weighed against me, and I know I'm ultimately going to be judged by God. So I think the prophet's like, okay, good luck. And so this guy, he summons the sun and the moon to say, can you testify? Can you protect me from God's judgment, Bailey? And the sun and the moon said, we last a very long time, but we're not eternal. And then he keeps adding more and more celestial objects and natural objects to testify in front of God, to protect him from all of his crimes, from all of this judgment. And he learns from the highest celestial object he can find that the only thing that can protect him is his own complete surrender. just like, and so this passing wind, this which is, by the way, quoted in Ecclesiastes, like everything is but wind. Ha, but wind. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. We have to reach a certain point of absurdity for this to work.
No, and it's really important that people sometimes take religion as something that has to be extremely serious, but humor comes from God.
Humor allows you to state of mind to process things outside of your normal scopality.
Exactly.
So this story is told intentionally to make you laugh. It really is, and you'll see that a lot. So just like in Ecclesiastes where it says everything is a passing wind, but then you look at the end that, actually all that really matters is what I do in this world, because everything's away. This person in the story learns that everything, even the things we assume are permanent, also fade away, and the only thing left is his repentance, his soul. We go from like the whole passing wind metaphor, whether this humorous story or very deep and dark Ecclesiastes, transitions to, yes, that's what everything is. The permanent one. I'm the one who has standing. I'm the only thing that's left, and I have to repent. I have to face who I am, because that's all that ultimately will be around. Mm-hmm. There's none of this materiality. There's none of this physicality. And to be really, really pushed with a moment of awakening where you realize, this all really isn't anything.
Yeah.
That's what this dark night is, when you realize everything is darkness. Because nothing is really going to be permanent. Ecclesiastes itself kind of reads like an existential, nihilistic kind of book, and the rabbis interpreted it as like, this is the moment, this is the book of ultimate liberation. And people have a hard time understanding this, but that's what's going on in these stories in these books. And so this is what can lead you to this place of now I know that I'm the only thing that's really there.
Yeah.
And through me comes my liberation. Through me comes my peace. Through me comes my freedom. Through my giving up of everything I've done and everything I have, and knowing I'm just this human being, that actually gives you eternity. Yeah. Because you are in the end eternal. So that's what gets you there. But once you are aware of that, once you're pushed into that, there are methods that I use to reopen that door. There are a variety, but the most deliberate one is I just stop, I draw in, and just stare at a particular point in space. Mm-hmm. I freeze everything I myself, but I pour my energy and motion into my mind with enough. And I used to do this as a kid. I would just this point in the wall, and it would, a long time, my eyes would start watering. Now, because I'm practiced at it, I just simply have to stop everything, my whole self into my head, essentially, find this one point, and then I notice that everything is no longer independent objects. Yeah. This is where the ocean begins. It's rightfully called an ocean. On dry land, thing of sand is individual. In the ocean, it's all one.
Yeah.
So you go from individual objects to collective, and who you are. When you get that experience of literally seeing individual things become united, that's when you know what is spiritually true. Because physically everything is independent.
Yeah.
Spiritually, everything is not. Spiritual, the definition of the spirituality is this essence of unity that's impossible to observe in physical life. But it's the ultimate explainer of everything that really happens in this world regarding ourselves and general nature. For example, we talk nature as a system. See each tree and each blade of grass as separate things. but they all work together. Without each other, don't survive. Practically speaking, on even a physical level, they all sort of in harmony. The tree dies, it decomposes, it creates better soil.
Yeah.
A tree seed goes in there, it's fed by the waters that wash it away, and the tree grows in. And it doesn't exist just individually, it exists as this whole. And that's why when you enter nature, you start sensing this unity, because even the very physical essence of nature itself has elements of spiritual truth that are instantly observable even on the physical.
Yeah.
But then when we go into cities and when we go into places where this sort of ecosystem is not quite so obvious, I think that thing can fade easily. But what happens is a lot of civilizations create religions that try to preserve and channel the natural world, what it's teaching us, that everything is connected. So like even in a city, the harvest festivals are still observed.
Mm-hmm.
Observed.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the three harvest festivals and Judaism. You have festivals and Judaism. You have very different harvest festivals and all these religions and even if you're in a city dweller in a cosmopolitan city or whatever, you still are watching the moon, you're watching the sun, you're existing in this circle of life. And that circle of life is a physical thing, but reminiscent to the conceptual form of spiritual reality. So become comfortable with that. A lot of people who are comfortable with nature might be spiritual, but some of them aren't.
Yeah.
They like accept, they are happy with the continuity that nature provides, and they shun the city or they shun other people because nature's
they feel like it's more escape instead of being even connect the other place that they're coming from in the first place.
They see it as its function, but not as its reality.
Yeah.
Nature has the function to cleanse you because it exists in this cycle. What it's hard to realize is that that's just a metaphor for a deeper reality about yourself.
Yeah.
No matter where you are. How do you enter this place of unity? So once you're there and you start literally physically seeing all things one, or at least sensing that, but I think seeing is also helpful. Focused on that reality, you can carry that consciousness with you even if you're not literally there. How do I mean? Once you understand that, not a truer, but a deeper form of reality, and that, oh yeah, everything is connected, like I'm a finger on a hand. Mm-hmm. If I cut off another finger, I hurt. Then you can carry that mindset anywhere. So, I was talking to you about my DoorDash experience where I wanted in DoorDash because I just thought, well, it's not really about the money, it's about the joy of delivering people their food. Mm-hmm. Because I benefited from people delivering me food when I had COVID, and I wanted to be able to do the same for others. Yeah. And what gave me this immense joy was like this last order I had where someone was ordering milk and cookies, and that's where I enter that humor state where it's like my mind is expanding into being able to appreciate the absurdity, but the inner beauty of someone, a grown person, ordering milk and cookies at midnight for themselves, and really wanting to enjoy it, and that I would be delivering that. It was such an absurd situation, but it was because it was reaching this inner wholesomeness that struck me as particularly beautiful once I was able to expand myself through the humor of everything, the rejection of what I knew to be normal, and it embraced that absurdity to embrace that inner beauty of that moment. And that makes DoorDash go from annoying job to another exploration of a deeper humanity of a new places that branch separates into small branches, a new experience of unity itself. So you start looking for places of unity by reaching the absurd, by reaching into why. because every time you into this humor that's reaching to a joyful place, that's your mind shutting down because it can't comprehend the ocean that it's in. It can't comprehend. You start when you see that one finger is over here and another finger is over there, and you can't see how they connect, but yet they sort of move in coordination. Your mind's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And it's like when you start laughing because you just don't get it, then you get it.
Yeah.
You get it because the mind steps away, and the thing that allows you to understand the deeper reality, the soul that's truly connected to this wider unity is like yes, that humor you're feeling that's leading you to peace. That peace is a sign of your existence in complete existence and full-fledged existence in the unified reality. So that's trying to get to on a daily basis, and possible to accept as a more normal reality than competent, than looking down at other people, than fear even. When that moment that you were pushed, but you'll take a chance now to just concentrate and in yourself from things as individual and watch them flow together as a unity. Now, what I'm saying took me many years to achieve at all, but I know it's possible, and the only reason that it's worth trying to enter into this state of mind is because the moment you touch that, and the moment allows you to inform the rest of your life, that's where fear goes to die.
And me and Zach have completely spiritual experiences. We have completely different pathways to this knowledge, but we've talked about this enough with each other on a private discussion. We can kind of see that we're at this same point where the way he described it is really good. It's kind of like understanding the madness of the reality.
Yeah.
Really does open you up to the full spectrum of existence, because it keeps you it breaks you away from that like victim mentality, like which is when you're coming from such a more innocent place. It almost forces you into a victim mentality, like all these bad things are happening to me. Why are all these bad things happening to me? Like, if you can't comprehend the madness and that side of reality that's not going to make sense, like that's why it keeps hitting you in the face. Like, there's a reason it keeps hitting you in the face. You haven't even tried to understand it yet. Yeah. And that's why it's hurting you so much.
It's painful to have truth hit you in the face, because we onto with dear life conceptions of reality.
Yeah.
And this is what faith is. The faith is letting go because you know that something is there to catch you.
Yeah.
And that's this other world. And what you're letting go of, by the way, this whole sense that you were talking about, everything is happening to me. What it comes down to is, when we see each other as individuals, and only individuals, with a short, brutish, nasty life, as I'm paraphrasing Thomas Hobbes. No, he said life is short, brutish, it that way, we are just constantly feeling like we're in competition. Like someone else has more than me. Someone else has a better partner, or more wealth, or a better, more fulfilling job. But that person, you ask them, they're in is just as deep of a panic as anybody else.
Yeah.
And the reason is because what they're really searching for is of peace, that like everything's okay. And so you hold onto images or ideas of power, because power is an instant insulation from the consequences of this world. But it doesn't save you from death. It doesn't save you from fearing that you can be taken down. There's only one thing that can save you from that, and that's just abandoning the conceptions of what people normally perceive to keep them safe and to keep them okay, and see that actually I was born okay. I was born safe. But I was only born that way without those things that I'm told to accumulate in order to preserve my safety. So it requires being slapped in the face. If you get slapped in the some people get slapped in the face, what they do is they just get more paranoid and they get more power and they get more things because they know, oh, I don't want life to slap me in the face. But some people who just have that wherewithal or don't want to, because they see the consequences of getting things in certain kinds of ways that it has on other people, they have the chance of awakening to, like, it actually didn't matter. It actually wasn't important. It's part of the drama of life. It's part of who we are as human beings. But the only reason we act like that is because we know any better. You're forced if you get slapped in the face enough. I mean, this goes to the theory of power. Power is accept security, the consequences of your actions. And when you don't have power, you don't have any choice but to surrender to yourself. Why are people in the world generally more religious?
Yeah.
Why do they pray so fervently? Why do they seem to have a certain sense of wisdom? It's not because they're poor. It's because they don't have power. So they have no choice after a certain point in time but to rely on this deeper truth. They don't get a choice. And it's not a matter of education. It's a matter of there is nowhere else to turn.
Yeah.
And I think we're all impoverished if we don't try to reach that.
Yeah.
If we don't feel compelled to.
And I think that's an extremely important point to bring up, because that a lot of people use that as a weapon against spirituality.
Yes.
As, it's used to control you, because look at how, try to use that as like a weapon. Look at how many people that are impoverished that are the ones that are religious. So it's just also used as a control structure.
The opiates of the masses.
Yeah, exactly. and that's, so then there's like this middle ground of people who are fighting they want to get power back, and they don't realize that having that spirituality attachment would make those people who are the fighters anyways, it would make them that much more powerful in their struggle for power, because they would finally be accessing what really would give the minority, or it's the majority, but it's the minority when it comes to power.
Yeah.
It would give the minority more abilities, because they can access it from a more pure source than just I just need money. If I have a much more money, I'll have power. If I just have enough money and enough stuff, I'll have power. I'll be the one. And it's like,
no, I mean, I don't mean to essentialize like poorer people. They're all spirit. No, actually, many of them are really the opposite, and they'll seek power above anything. But many people will just not be in the position to constantly keep searching, and they will like accept a deeper and higher truth. But what's important is, just because that happens doesn't mean we abandon those people and we abandon this world and we let people suffer. If we in fact gain access to deeper realities and truths, as you were talking about, we have the wider knowledge and the wider context to defeat the fear projected by the powerful, and reach and help sort of reach a higher point in consciousness and enlightenment that will cause people not to fear as much, and therefore barricade themselves and attack those with less from on top of their mountain, and sort of make people understand there's really deep down there's nothing to fear we have from each other. There's only what to gain by being united. So there's I'm using a lot of Jewish parables in this episode, but there's one more I've been thinking about. It's not from the Talmud, it's a more modern one from like the 1800s, and it's a long story, but from Nachman. But one of the key elements that there's this master of prayer. He's trying to unite the world and release people from the vices that they've created around. And the most difficult nation with the most difficult vice is the vice of loving money. And what this people would do who like worship rich people, what they would do is, depending on how much money they had like certain like banners that represented them, but they also lived on different mountains. So like the wealthier you got, the higher the mountain you got to live on, and you would never like dare be at the bottom of that mountain. And so like one of the lessons that it was trying to point to was that not only is the love of money the most difficult vice to overcome, because the most difficult worldview to overcome, but like what it causes you to, the mentality that it puts you in is not just I am better, so I'm therefore on this high of a mountain, but I literally can't cooperate with other people because I must be hidden away. I must be this high up. I must be this isolated, and that's not really a liberated existence.
Yeah.
It's not really a liberated. I don't. Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't exactly a full story. But it was a conceptual paraphrasing. But it's liberating for this kind of thing to happen. But I think for right now, we'll take a break. We'll come back for a third segment.
We will be back.
This is Vibe Check with Zach and Kris.
Well, we are back with the legendary segment.
Oh, the legendary all-new third segment. But we didn't necessarily have to ask any specific questions for us to add to this segment. So, lucky you, this is a great topic. We can keep talking for a little while.
Yeah, which is that we will be seeing your comments, questions, any thoughts that you have. But we're probably going to figure out over time how to do it in a way that will reach your eyeballs or your ears in a concurrent, timely manner. We're working on a lot of things. I really thought I had an excellent video set up. I was yet again hoisted by my own failed petard.
As we all
Yeah.
regular.
Yeah, so speaking of which, I would just want to lean into potential next episode, or at least potential next step of what we're going to talk about is, okay, so what happens when you start entering this world of unity? What's to show up that's going to be difficult to get to comprehend? The first thing, in my opinion, is just the sheer shock. I mean, I've seen situations where I've tried to lead people in that world, and they might be okay for like 30 seconds of it, or not even that, like 2 seconds of it, and they're like, no, this is too much. But that's an interesting thing. If we truly are of that spiritual world, how do we decide what's too much? What's too much and what's too much and what's too little? What's too little?
We'll see.
Little.
We'll see. Okay. We'll see. Okay. I have a very good theory on this.
Yeah.
Because okay. So my initial opening to the deep knowledge of spirituality was in a state of transitioning into mania. So in that moment, mania, I was so desperate to connect to another human being on that level. So just kept hitting up my friends or whoever I could to talk about what was going through my mind and what all this information that was sort of jumping into my brain from just this spiritual realm, because it wasn't or even if it was just my subconscious knowledge. Finally accessed by my brain.
Right.
So there was just so much, and when I was saying it to people, like some people that were a little like the more spiritually open people sort of kind of got it, and they're like, yeah, but he also sounds a little crazy. And then other people that weren't so dialed in or like aware of how spirituality works just thought I was going into a madness and that I was a danger to myself. So I ended up getting like 5150 thrown in a crazy house.
Yeah.
They were like, "Are you here?" And I'm like, "That's a good question." I was like, I said too much.
Yeah.
I said, because literally they were just like, "Well, we don't want. Why are you here?" And I was like, that's a good. I literally said too much.
Yeah.
And no one understood it.
Right.
And so it's that's why it's scary to people. Like, it's so scary to people that the people that I was talking to,
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't open their brain to it because it was just too much. It was too much all at once.
Mm-hmm.
You try to force too much information into people at once, it's people trying to get through a door all at once get stuck, and then nothing's through at all.
And it's not even information what's interesting. It's not just the information, but I think what you're alluding to is whole reality that is so new, or so shocking, that not only is it hard to explain a whole reality just free, wholesale, but like to accept that it's just as real as any other,
exactly,
or even more. And especially because to access that world, it does scramble our mind. Our mind does not become fluid connector of what's going on more deeply and what's being expressed in the most physical. So it just leaves the waters, which I suspect it happened in your case.
Well, it's like to let the entire ocean come out of a garden hose.
Yeah,
You can't.
Right.
There's no way you can get the entire ocean out of a garden hose. So it's like, to people who don't understand that spiritual realm, even a little bit of water coming out of the hose is just extreme.
It's a very
but
intense
that's because you kind of need to know that there's an entire ocean to understand and the dribble of water. You don't even realize there's water coming out of the garden hose. Mm-hmm. They're just like. Why does he have a garden hose? You know what I'm saying? It's like, wait, why is he holding a garden hose? It's like, because there's water. There's water coming out of the garden hose, but there's no water going out of the. And it's like, oh well, they don't even know that the ocean exists, so they can't even acknowledge the water coming out of the garden hose. It's such a weird analogy, but it kind of works.
Right? No, I think what you're getting at is that if, in order to explain like a phenomenon that's only moderately present, and just like you also have to acknowledge that the reason for this expression is sourced into something that's incomprehensible, not only to the person who is listening to you or talking to you, but even you yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's why not only just does your information become overwhelming, I think what you're describing is like we very deliberate this podcast. This is episode 7 before even touching this. And we're doing that because, we want to avoid the pitfalls of our own experience of just diving in head first and hoping for the best. Because I really do believe, and I think you too, that there is a way to frame and build, understand, and create an infrastructure in the self so that the water starts pouring out. And when you finally sort of surrender to that deeper reality, like, it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
It's going to make things ultimately. It's going to make things going to be easy. It's not fun.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a little bit safer. And I'm not immune to having unsafe experiences. I think of just like tapping the water and then just saying a lot of things because I can't express what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to, because it's suddenly your world. It's suddenly my world. But yeah, we want to be deliberate. We want to build that infrastructure. We want to use the benefit of our experience to be able to do this, because despite all the pitfalls, like the truth as will set you free.
Mm-hmm.
The truth will set you free from not from this world, but from the illusions of this world, and justifies anything. That justifies everything, no matter how hard it is, because once you be comfortable with being in the water, and you know that everything is so worse without it, without knowing that ultimately everything will decay, like knowing thing ultimately will be okay. Not knowing, but just really,
Yeah.
just really experiencing. No matter what happens, no matter what it comes to, I mean, and that you matter, and that what you do has consequence, and that you can bring liberation to this world and yourself. I mean, you know, that's ultimately what I believe a lot of people are unconsciously fumbling for.
Yeah. Well, everybody wants to have. I mean, whether they know it or not, that they want to have purpose.
Yeah.
And the thing about accessing the spiritual like understanding is that it's the ultimate purpose. It ends up giving you the ultimate purpose because of, you know, go small scale and just try to give yourself purpose on a human level, like, oh, I have a wife now, so a wife to protect, you know, and you have kids, so now I have a family to protect, and I have all these assets that I've gained through life, and so I have to protect those and maintain those. So you're giving yourself these like surface level purposes, but you access the spiritual purpose on a level of how am I here for the good? Am I here for just the good of myself and the things that I've gained here and that I want? Or am I here to serve a greater purpose? And it is something that you give yourself, and you are given by this divine connection that humanity has to the imaginary realm, the spiritual plane. We have this attachment to it, and in the ability to give yourself the permission to have a greater purpose, you give yourself power.
Yeah, and
this is what so many people are seeking.
And the power, is, as we said, is just an insulation from what goes wrong. The ultimate power is one that's ultimately insulating.
Yeah.
That tells you that, actually, I know what the true source code of all of this stuff is.
Yeah.
I want to actually end this episode on another parable from the Talmud that I want to sort of bring into this. It has everything to do with this kind of thing.
Do it.
So, a story about Rabbi Akiva, the guy who was really obsessed with water and needed to be in the water, right? There was another story where he went into heaven with the rabbis. And it was an orchard. That's how it was described. And he said to the three other rabbis, when you go up there and you see these pure stones, don't call them water. Don't say water. When he and the three others went up there, one became a heretic, another died, another went crazy. He left in peace because he never looked at those stones and said, water. He was prepared for what came when he went. And about the whole water thing is the way it was sort of mystically interpreted later on about why it was important not to call these things water. It's because in this world we have there are two waters according to the Bible. There's the lower waters and the upper waters.
Yeah.
And when you look at this physical world, you ultimately sort of see them as separate things, one below and one above. But the ultimate truth of them is that it's actually one water.
Yeah.
So when you go up into this divine spiritual world, but you use human physical concepts, physical streams of mind to try to understand it, you're not going to leave it in peace.
Yeah.
But if you accept things and you prepare to know that that world isn't going to be done on your terms of reality, but on its terms of reality, ultimate unity, then you will leave it in peace and be empowered with this knowledge that informed this rabbi through his life and his teachings. And so I want to end with that as a good framework for what to leave with for next time.
We hope you've enjoyed Vibe Check with Zach and Kris episode 7, and we hope you return for the next episode, because we're on that next level now. We're gonna dive headfirst into this new world that we're hoping you all sense of power and responsibility and inspiration to reach something better.
Yeah, it's now. Inspiration ideally should lead to inspiration.
We've got a very, very interesting year ahead of us.
Yes, we do. But it's right now.
Starts right now. Good night, everybody.
Good night.